If you've been receiving survivor benefits for a while, or you're just starting to look into them, there are a few quiet changes in how Social Security handles these claims that are worth knowing about. Not dramatic changes, not the kind that make headlines, but the kind that can affect how smoothly your claim moves, how quickly you get answers, and whether you avoid a delay you didn't see coming. Nobody sends you a letter explaining these updates in plain language. You usually only find out when something doesn't go the way you expected, and by then, it's already caused a headache. So today, I want to walk you through what's changed recently and what it means for you in plain, simple terms. If you're new here, welcome. Every week, this channel walks through the practical side of navigating survivor benefits, not just the big rules, but the smaller, ongoing updates that rarely get explained clearly, even though they can genuinely affect your experience. Today's video is a bit different from some of our others because we're not talking about a single benefit or a single rule. We're talking about how the process itself has been shifting, the tools available to you, the verification steps involved, and a few practical details that can save you time and frustration if you know about them ahead of time. Whether you're already receiving survivor benefits or you're just starting the process, I think you'll find at least one thing in this video that changes how you approach your next interaction with Social Security. None of what follows requires anything complicated on your part, just a little awareness, so you're never caught off guard by something that could have been easy to plan for. Let's start with something that's been a genuine shift over the past couple of years. More of the survivor benefits process can now be started and in some cases completed online through your personal My Social Security account. If you haven't created one yet, I gently encourage you to do so, even if you're not ready to file anything yet. Having an account set up in advance means that when you are ready to begin a claim or check on the status of an existing one, you're not starting from scratch during an already difficult time. Through this account, you can often check your husband's earnings record, get benefit estimates, and in many cases, begin certain applications directly online, rather than waiting for an in-person appointment or a lengthy phone call. I want to be honest with you though, not every part of survivor benefits can be completed online. Some steps, especially those involving death certificates or more complex marital histories, still typically require a phone call or an in-person visit. But having your online account set up ahead of time means you'll already have your basic information verified and ready to go, which can meaningfully shorten the parts of the process that do happen online. One more small but meaningful detail: your online account also lets you update direct deposit information, change your mailing address, and download benefit verification letters whenever you need them. For example, if a bank or another agency asks you to prove your benefit amount. Widows have told me this alone has saved them a separate phone call more than once, simply because the letter was available to download immediately rather than needing to be requested and mailed. Here's something practical I want to address honestly, because I think it helps to know it going in rather than being surprised by it. Many widows have described longer wait times when calling Social Security directly compared to what they experienced years ago. This isn't something unique to survivor benefits specifically. It reflects a broader increase in call volume across the entire system. But because survivor claims often require a phone conversation rather than a fully online process, this affects widows more directly than some other types of claims. A few practical things that widows have found helpful. Calling earlier in the morning, right when phone lines open, tends to mean shorter waits than calling later in the day. Midweek calls, particularly Tuesday through Thursday, also tend to be less busy than Mondays, when call volume is typically highest after the weekend. If you're able to schedule an appointment at a local Social Security office in advance rather than walking in, this can also reduce the amount of time you spend waiting, since walk-in visits are generally seen on a first-come, first-served basis alongside scheduled appointments. I mention all of this not to discourage you, but so you can plan around it. Setting aside a specific morning rather than trying to fit a call into a rushed lunch break tends to make the entire experience feel less stressful. One more tip that widows have shared with me: if your first call gets disconnected or you're told to call back due to a system issue, Please don't take that as a sign to give up for the day. It happens fairly often simply due to volume, and calling back the next morning usually resolves it. Keeping a small notepad by the phone with the date and time of each attempt can also help if you ever need to reference how long a delay has taken, particularly if you're trying to meet a specific deadline, like the 2-year window we discussed in an earlier video. Another shift worth knowing about is that Social Security has generally increased the verification steps required to protect against identity theft and fraudulent claims. While this is ultimately a protective measure, it does mean the process can feel a little more thorough than it may have in years past. This might include additional questions to verify your identity, more detailed documentation requests, or in some cases, a request to verify your identity through Social Security's online identity verification system before certain actions can be completed. If you're asked for documentation you weren't expecting, please don't take it as a sign that something is wrong with your claim. In almost every case, this reflects standard, increased protective measures applied broadly across the system, not any specific concern about your individual application. My advice here is simple. Keep your key documents together in one place from the very beginning. Your marriage certificate, his death certificate, both Social Security numbers, and any prior correspondence from Social Security. Having these readily available means that whatever verification step comes up, you're prepared for it rather than searching for paperwork under pressure. Something else worth knowing, Social Security has been making an effort to provide clearer, more personalized benefit estimates through your online account, rather than relying solely on general informational materials. This means that if you log into your personal account, you may be able to see a more specific estimate of what your survivor benefit would look like at different claiming ages, rather than needing to calculate this yourself or wait for a phone representative to walk you through it. I think this is a genuinely helpful shift because so much of the confusion around survivor benefits comes from trying to understand general rules without seeing your own specific numbers. If this tool is available to you, I'd encourage you to use it as a starting point before any phone call, so you already have a sense of your numbers and can ask more specific, informed questions when you do speak with a representative. That said, I always recommend treating online estimates as a helpful starting point rather than a final answer. Your specific situation, prior marriages, work history, disability status, can affect the final number in ways that are worth confirming directly with a representative before making any major decisions. I want to take a moment here to explain why I think these quieter, more procedural changes matter just as much as the bigger rule changes we've talked about in other videos. Big rule changes, like eligibility ages or benefit percentages, tend to get discussed widely, even if imperfectly. But these smaller procedural shifts rarely get discussed at all, and yet they directly affect your day-to-day experience of navigating this system. Knowing that wait times have changed, that verification is more thorough, and that more tools exist online means you can walk into this process with realistic expectations rather than frustration born from surprise. So much of what makes this process feel overwhelming isn't the rules themselves. It's the gap between what you expect and what actually happens. Closing that gap, even a little, tends to make the entire experience feel more manageable. Let's go through a few mistakes I see widows make in light of these shifts. Mistake 1, assuming the entire process can be completed online and being caught off guard when a phone call or in-person visit is still required for certain steps. Mistake 2, calling during the busiest times of day or week and becoming discouraged by long hold times, without realizing that timing your call differently could shorten the wait considerably. Mistake 3, feeling alarmed by additional verification requests, interpreting them as a problem with their claim specifically, rather than a standard protective measure. Mistake 4, not setting up a My Social Security account in advance and losing time reestablishing basic information during an already stressful moment. Mistake 5, treating online benefit estimates as final numbers without confirming details specific to their own marital and work history with a representative directly. Mistake 6, giving up after one disconnected call or a busy signal, rather than trying again the next morning at a quieter time. Mistake 7. Not downloading or saving benefit verification letters when needed, and instead requesting a mailed copy that can take days or weeks to arrive. Let me share a story that reflects what many widows experience navigating these updated processes. I'll call her Eleanor, though her experience mirrors so many others. Eleanor's husband passed away, and she assumed the entire survivor benefits process would happen quickly, over a single phone call, the way she remembered a family member describing it years earlier. When she called and encountered a longer wait than expected, followed by a request for additional documentation to verify her identity, she began to worry that something was wrong with her claim. She even called a second time, worried she'd made a mistake the first time around, only to be told the exact same thing. After speaking with a representative, Eleanor learned that none of this reflected a problem specific to her. It simply reflected how the process has generally become more thorough over time. Once she understood that and adjusted her expectations, the rest of her experience felt far less stressful, even though the actual steps involved were quite similar to what she'd anticipated. Looking back, Eleanor said the hardest part wasn't the paperwork itself. It was simply not knowing what to expect going in. Eleanor's story is a reminder that so much of navigating this system comes down to knowing what to expect ahead of time, rather than the process itself being fundamentally difficult. Here's your simple checklist for this week. Step 1. If you haven't already, set up a personal My Social Security account online, so your basic information is ready whenever you need it. Step 2. Gather your key documents together in one place now. Marriage certificate, death certificate, social security numbers, so you're prepared for any verification step that comes up. Step 3. If you need to call, try calling early in the morning, midweek, to reduce your wait time. Step 4. Use your online account to view a personalized benefit estimate, and bring those numbers with you to any phone conversation, so your questions can be specific and informed. Step 5. Approach any additional verification requests calmly, understanding they reflect broader protective measures, not a concern about your specific claim. I know that navigating a system that keeps quietly shifting can feel disorienting, especially when you're already carrying so much. But I hope today's video gave you a little more clarity about what to expect, so that the next time you interact with Social Security, you're walking in prepared rather than caught off guard. You deserve a process that feels manageable, even when the system itself isn't always simple. And knowing what's changed, even in small ways, is one more way to make that true for yourself. Sometimes the biggest source of stress isn't the process itself, but the uncertainty of not knowing what to expect. And that's exactly the gap I hope today's video helped close, even just a little. If this video helped, I'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe. Every week, we walk through another piece of this journey together. And if you know another widow who's about to start this process, please consider sharing this with her so she can walk in a little more prepared than she otherwise would have. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Take gentle care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.